Oh, I am so glad that you found your way back to the Yoga and Black podcast. But if you're new to the show, welcome. The show is all about sharing the stories of Black yoga and holistic wellness providers all around the world. And the goal is to bring more community awareness to the Black folks that not only practice yoga, but teach it too, to show our community that we too participate in these practices to help us heal and lead fuller lives. So, without me talking anymore, please, please, I hope you enjoy the show. Thanks for listening. Hello, everyone, and welcome to season 4 of the Yoga and Black podcast. I know we took a little bit of a break, but now we're back with new material, new folks to meet, and of course, you see this beautiful face right in front of you. We've got Recy Swan today, a healing arts practitioner. So I am super excited to dive into Recy's story. I don't want to take up too much time besides the fact that I didn't say that my name is Tyranny, in case you are new here.
That's important.
It's a little important, I guess, but I started this about 3 years ago in 2020, and we're still going. So thank you for being here on this journey with us. But I like to get to it. So let's just keep on talking. Recy, hi.
Hi.
How have you
Thank you
been?
for having me.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for being a part of this. Let's just dive right into it. Tell us a little bit more about yourself. Like, if you could give a brief intro, what would you provide for us?
Yes, brief intro. As she said, I'm Recy Swan, a healing arts practitioner in Houston, Texas. And basically, that's just a fancy title that means like I work with the mind, body, and spirit, but usually in a way that feels like the arts. So, like sound therapy, body work, embodiment coaching, breath work, that type of vibe. So that's kind of
Yes.
like how I be or express my essence, but truly my passion is just around fortifying Black and brown people on a pathway towards happy healing. When the messaging all the time is like, you got to do the work, you got to do the work. And I'm just like, when do we get to have a little bit of fun?
Love that you said
Yeah.
that.
So I'm really just focused on having a happy time in the healing process and just acknowledging that, happiness is a state of being for me and not something that is an in and out thing. You can have challenges and also find joy in it. And so I'm really just on this I'm just really on this mission to inspire Black people to find the joy in healing. And I like to call that orgasmic living, just living like an orgasmic lifestyle where everything you do has an element of play and pleasure and fulfillment, even healing.
Mm,
Yeah,
yeah. Do you do any virtual sessions?
I do.
Okay.
I do
Keep
do
me
virtual.
posted. My work schedule
Yeah.
keeps getting bounced
Getting in
around,
the
so
way
I'm
of your
trying.
thing.
You know, so I've been like every episode that I get with somebody, like, "What's your schedule like?" Because I want to try to
Yeah.
participate, but it's so hard. So
Yeah.
I'm glad that's an option because this sounds divine.
Yeah.
And like I said, I'm so glad that you mentioned that finding the fun, finding the happiness in the healing,
Mhm.
because yeah, healing is definitely a challenging process.
Yeah.
It makes you aware of the stuff that you were probably hiding from.
Pushing down. Mhm.
Exactly. But there's so much on the other side of that, even when you're in it too.
Yeah, in the journey, in the process,
Yes.
and not looking for some future joy or just always working towards this future reward. And
Yes.
you know what I mean? Just having just an unhealthy or um can sometimes be like toxic relationship with resilience and stress, especially as a Black person, and really just redefining what all that even means for you from your own voice, your own heart space, your own perspective, and
Mm.
not what's been just given to us, you know?
Yes, speak that. Yes.
Yeah.
Ah, I just got my life already and we just got started.
We just getting started.
Oh, man.
I just barely got here, man.
We on the train already and I'm not getting off. Let's
Yeah,
do
don't get off.
this.
Stay on the track. Stay on the track. Yeah.
So then tell me a little bit more about where all of this started from for you. What
Yeah.
brought you into where you are now? If you could go
So
all the way back.
I've been in this field of work for over 10 years. And I think what initially, not I think, but what initially got me like into this work was my mom's transition. And I was kind of putting a program together that I thought would like just help my mom and help her with, just some of the things that she was going through as far as like addiction and depression and things like that. Um, but at that time, I was in my early 20s, and you know how even now, you know how I'm saying the kids, but because I'm 39, but you know how the kids, they have all these like just innovative and like great ideas, but also, you kind of know in your wisdom that it's a great idea, but it takes a little bit more nurturing
Yeah.
and experience to like fully understand or fully realize, something that's a great idea to actually make it a great offering. And I
Mm-hmm.
feel like I had a great idea at that time. And it was this 90-day program. In my mind, I was just like, yes, it's going to work. And you think like, okay, girl, you 20, whatever. You got a little 90-day whoop whoop. Your mom has been like struggling with depression for, 9 or 10 years. Girl, you really think like 90 days gonna do it? Like, girl, come on. But I really thought that, and I think, which we could probably talk about later, like just the value of delusion and how you can get so far
You
with delusion.
can.
Like it can be a superpower in a lot of ways. But I was just that delusional. But then my mom actually ended up transitioning before I could like walk her through any of that. And I remember just like really going into this. I wasn't like in a depression or anything because my mom had been sick for a while. So I was kind of like anticipating her transition. I had dreamed about it, but you know how like when that like matriarch of the family transitions, it's like you don't necessarily go into chaos, but there's like chaos all around you. And that's kind of what happened. My brother, he started dealing with some mental health issues and um got physical with me. So it just became an unsafe environment to live in. And we both moved back home to just like help my mom through you know,
Right.
her time in hospice. And so I ended up having to leave. And long story short, I was homeless for like 6 months with my 5-year-old daughter. I had just turned 29, had recently gone through a divorce. Then my mom passed. Then the stuff with my brother. And you know how it's just like a boop, boop,
All
boop,
that
boop.
stuff just keeps domino
Yeah,
affecting
it's
its
really
way into like what the hell?
yeah, and there's really like no real time to healthily process it without
Mm-hmm.
the fear of like not making it through it. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
And eventually I just got to this place and I had just like a day and I thought like, okay, I could really like if I'm not here, I feel like in my mind, and the mind is like so smart. Like you
Mm.
give it a problem, and even if the problem is like committing suicide or like leaving this place, the mind immediately starts finding resolutions to all the problems that
Yeah.
might prevent you from doing that. So it just felt like in a millisecond, I knew exactly who was going to have my daughter. And it's just like my mind just started working it out to where, like, yeah, I
Yeah.
could actually leave here and things could be fine. And I had that day, and in the midst of that, I ended up asking myself, like, I was just like, okay, God, I feel like if you can give me one thing to be grateful for, like I can start walking myself back into my body. And that's
Yes.
really what happened. I just got on this pathway, like in that moment in my mind of like all the things that I was grateful for in that moment. And then I remembered that 90-day program and I did it for myself. And
Yes.
I was just like, oh, okay, like this was for me, but I didn't have that foresight to know that, in my mind, this was like for this
Yeah.
current existing problem. And so I ended up doing that 90-day program. And it was one day at church, this girl walked up to me, and it had been a while. And we were at like a women's fellowship thing one night. And she just walked up to me and she was like, I want to be happy like you. And I literally,
Oh,
Courtney, I just burst out crying because you know what? Sometimes, like when you're on this journey and you're doing the work and doing the work and doing the work and doing the work, like you actually don't really realize how far you're getting, and you don't really
yes.
celebrate any of the small wins because you think there's this big healing place that you're trying to get to.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
I call it standing too close to the sun or too close to
Y-
the picture if you don't want to use the
Yeah,
sun
you
as a
can't really
reference.
take it,
All the beauty
you
of
can't
what you've
see it
done and all
all.
exactly because you're
Yeah,
right here looking at all the fine details, and once you step away or at least finally give yourself the opportunity to step away, it's like, oh damn, I did this.
yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
let me go ahead and celebrate myself real quick. But then
Yeah,
we sometimes guilt ourselves out of that too, so it's
yeah.
no, celebrate your
So,
wins, celebrate the
yeah,
things that you're capable of doing because people are seeing it.
people
Like the
are
young
seeing
girl that
it.
saw you, like
Yeah.
exactly.
And she actually ended up becoming my first client to like go through my program. And I did that for a few years and had great results, travel out of the country, doing retreats and speaking and all of that. And then it just started to feel hard again. And
Oh
I
yeah.
was just like, I was realizing like how you can develop, or clients can, and even practitioners too, can develop codependency in those
Mhm.
relationships to where
Yeah.
sometimes your clients feel like they can't do anything without you, and then it becomes like this burden. And the way that I liked to guide at the time was very hands on, and it just became a burden.
Mhm.
And I was just like, I don't want to do this like this anymore. And around that time, I was just like, I'm going to take a step back and I'm going to just like focus on myself. And um, I started doing the Sacred Woman book with like a group of friends. And that completely like changed my life, my mindset, ideas on how healing could look, how different it could look versus what I was doing before.
Mhm.
And I just took a break and I was just open to like whatever the divine wanted me to like step into next. And in that time, I ended up meeting my partner and then just like committing time to like that and not wanting to be distracted with this kind of work because it takes a lot of energy, you know?
Say that again.
It takes
Woo.
a lot out of you to consistently serve, and feel. And I
Mm.
was just like, yeah, I want to just like fill my cup for a little while.
Yes.
And so I did that. And then we met in 2019. And then, of course, the pandemic happened shortly after. And then I saw the Black Lives Matter yoga training.
Is that
And
how we know each
that's
other?
how we know each
I was gonna
other.
say, I'm like, I couldn't remember how we met.
Boom. Boom.
I knew it was something like that. I'm like, how did I meet her? I cannot
Yes,
remember.
we were like in group and stuff like in yoga
Yes.
teacher training. And so I said, you know what? Like this felt like I just felt like this is gonna be like my silent protest against all that was happening in the world, because also at that time was like the Black Lives Matter movement was also I was not gonna say like resurging, but was becoming bigger.
Yeah,
It
more
was
widespread.
growing,
Yeah.
and um there was just a lot going on for Black people, plus the pandemic, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna get into this. I'm gonna see what happens for me. And I started teaching like nighttime yoga for Black women, virtual. And then from there, I was just like, yeah, I like this. And then I realized, yoga is very like different for Black people
Yeah.
and Black bodies and
Very.
lots of white spaces. And even that started feeling like conflict within my body, right?
Ooh.
And I was just like, okay, yoga isn't just like asana.
Mm-mm.
So this was like a long journey to like share how I got into this part of yoga, which, there are 8 limbs of yoga. And one of them is breath,
Yes.
meditation. And I think for Black people, a lot of times we hear yoga and we're automatically thinking like, how can I get on this mat and do some type of physical performance, get into a back bend? How can I, or achieve some, I want to float or achieve
Yeah.
some type of,
Some
we're
physical
just used to
achievement.
striving, like, and that's it. It just kind of became like that to me, like, oh, okay, this feels like another thing to work for and strive
Yeah.
for. And I started noticing like I'm not really like a group yoga person. Like I like one-on-one sessions. I like to know how you're feeling. I like to be able to really be like in the practice with you. And I've done group yoga and stuff, but it's just like you really can't give that
You can. It's
attention
it's difficult to be able to serve everybody in a way
like
that
that,
works. Yeah.
So then I was just like, okay, what is something that I can share that's like a part of yoga that's not asana focused, that people feel personally empowered for? They don't need a teacher for. They can do it alone. They can become their own guru. There's no dependency. You can build community, but it's not, but it's also independent, right? And I was just like, yeah, breath work, that feels like we all just,
We all need help with that.
and we all breathe religion.
Right. Like we all need help with that.
Yeah, and so I started thinking about just like the breath part of yoga and how I feel like it can be so misunderstood on the mat. But when the mat is no longer the focus, then the focus can become about the main thing, make it the main thing, the main thing, which of
Yes.
course, what really guides a good flow on the mat in terms of asana
Is the breath.
is the breath.
Mm.
And when I landed there, like I got into this healing arts immersion program and I went for the sound healing. I had been playing my sound bowls for like 2 years just for myself and just like integrating the work and seeing how it felt for me. And when I saw this program, I thought, oh, I'll go for the sound and like learn more. And I'm the type of person, I need the science and the woo. Like I need to understand the
They
scientific.
go hand in hand
They
anyway.
go hand in hand. Like I need to know
Yes.
what all the is going on.
Yes.
And I went for the sound therapy training, but I fell in love with the breath work. And it just felt like home to me. And also I felt at home in it. You get what I mean? Like
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
there was just like all of this like judgment and all the things that happen sometimes when you're on the mat and you're trying to achieve or work towards a certain asana, just in practice and
Mhm.
there's nothing wrong with that, right? Everything is right with that, but also doing it in a way like the yamas and niyamas talk about, in a way that is non-violent towards yourself and non-judgmental, and
Not
that's
being too
ethical and
attached to
loving.
that. Yes.
Yeah.
Being okay with letting that go if it's not for
If
you.
it's not your and if it's just not your day, like, you may
Yes.
be able to do something one day on the mat, and then you may come back the very next day, and if life is doing a certain thing in your body, you may not be able to get there the next day like you did the day before. And
Mm-hmm.
so just all of my passion became about understanding, like, the breath that guides the practice and embodiment. How can I be more in my body, and how can I teach other people to be more present with life so that we can have that, like,
Mm.
orgasmic experience? Because if we're not there, we're not there. If you're not in it, you're not in it. And you can get on that mat and you can turn 64 flips, and you could do a downward facing dog, you could do goddess pose, you can float, you can do all the things, and you can still get off your mat and feel like crap if
Yeah.
your heart and your mind and your body are not all
Mm.
integrated. So I
Mm.
just got super focused on, like, integration and not abandoning the body, because a lot of times in spiritual work it's very heady, and
Yeah.
we're doing all this thinking and all this meditating and all of this, and it's like a lot of that trauma is cellular, a lot of that stuff is
Yes.
in the body, and that's kind of what I fell in love with breath work, that the idea, just like simple breathing, is like a nervous system regulator, and just
Mm-hmm.
understanding, like, your vagal tone and your vagus nerve and how that all works together to help you regulate, and
Yeah.
feel good and reduce stress, and just from, like, like,
The
even
power of
now,
that
like, I
is
feel a little bit of
oof.
tension, like, leaving my
Mm-hmm.
bag, just like space. Um, so yeah, I feel like I went on a vacation to, like, tell you all of that, but I mean, yeah, that's how I really got there. Just like my own trauma, and then a new level of awareness of how trauma can also guide how we work as practitioners,
Yeah.
and just, like, understanding, like, when you're working from a trauma lens as a practitioner, and giving yourself permission to say, "Oh, okay, now that I realize I'm here, let me take a step back. Let me start over. Let me begin again. Let me start something new,"
Oh
and
yeah.
being okay with that,
Absolutely.
you know?
I'm over here just in awe. Like, I've loved everything that you just said. Oh my goodness. I'm over here like writing notes down. I'm like, yes, love that. Love that. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Something you just said just made me think about how in today's world with, the way that people practice yoga, they've compartmentalized so many pieces of it, but because there are so many limbs of it, like I'll use myself as an example because I don't want to generalize. When I first started practicing, it was very physical for me. Like, I loved going to class. I loved being able to move my body and do these things because I was
Mhm.
going through a lot of stuff that was making my mind move
Mhm.
way too fast.
Yeah.
And class was where I could at least focus on something else for a minute.
Ground. Yeah, like
Right.
now.
So I was doing a lot of physical processing, but I
Mhm.
was toning or like tuning out everything mental. So I
Mm.
wasn't really working through a lot of the things that I needed to really understand what all was happening with bringing, yoga into my life.
Into it, yeah.
Exactly. So once I started learning more about the practice and seeing where I was missing some pieces, once I started incorporating those, I was like, I am a whole new person now. And
Mhm.
I get it. Like I can still do the physical stuff, but add this thing to it and it makes the
Mhm.
physical almost feel better,
Even
which
better.
makes yeah, which makes the meditation feel
Mhm.
better, which makes the breath work feel better, which makes me carrying this stuff into the rest of my life so that the
Mhm.
rest of my life feels better. Oh, I get it
Yeah.
now.
You get to bring your whole self to the party.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I am a
All of you, bringing
completely
all of
different
you.
person now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. And I
I
find
love that
myself
for
going
you.
into waves of it too, because I did my 5 or 300 hour
Mhm.
um just last year, finished beginning of this year. And
Mhm.
that entire time it just like almost like renewed the lease because I'm
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I was in a point where I'm like I feel like I'm stuck in this rut of things, and it just
Mhm.
renewed that same sense of embodying the practice
Yeah.
so that you can become a better leader,
Practitioner.
instructor, and
Yeah.
practitioner, all of
Instructor.
these
Yeah.
things. Yes, sharing it
Mhm.
with others. So as soon as you said embodying it for yourself, I'm like, yes,
Yeah.
yes, it is so important to be able to live it so that you can
Yeah.
share it.
Mhm.
Oh,
Mhm.
gosh, I love
Thank you
this
for sharing
conversation
that.
already.
I'm so
Thank
happy for
you.
you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's like all of this stuff has been stuff to just help me through life, because
Yeah.
life is what it is. It's hard
Yeah.
as hell and it throws
Yeah.
things at you rapid fire sometimes. And
Mhm.
that's challenging. So like I thought of something else when you had mentioned when you first did your 90-day thing. You came
Mhm.
up with it first, but then kind of let it sit. Was that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I didn't think it was for me.
And I think that's exactly what it was. It
Yeah.
was for you, not to
Yeah.
mention it was the opportunity where you had something great, but it needed to be tested in a real impactful
Yes.
way. And at the
Yes.
time, I don't think you were going through, or at least you may not have been
Nothing that
going through
would,
something, yeah,
yeah,
that would have
that I
warranted that
felt.
type of transition.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah. So I'm like, oh, that
But
was divine timing.
the thing is, I really was. But sometimes our focus is so outside of ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
and we think that other people's problems or sufferings are bigger than our own.
Yep.
And a lot of times we can neglect or abandon our own suffering to tend to someone else's, either because we think theirs is more significant or because we don't want to accept and
Mm-hmm.
acknowledge that we are suffering. Because once I admit that, once I know the truth, I can never unknow it. So if I acknowledge that I'm in suffering, I'm there now. I have an awareness of it, and my mind, my body, my nervous system, all the parts of me, my conscious mind, my subconscious mind, they're
Mm-hmm.
all getting into a party about it now. So if I just focus out here, then I don't need to focus in here, and I can really get to that another time, if at all.
Yep.
Because truly, like I said, my divorce was finalized in April. My mom transitioned in July the same year.
That's
So
just
honestly,
weeks.
I did need it.
Yeah.
But I just thought, like, okay, here's my mom. Her trauma and suffering is more significant than my own. She's dealing with chronic depression and fibromyalgia and alcoholism. She's on
Mm.
hospice, but at the same time, she kind of had a way that she was even thriving in hospice. So I just felt like, oh, well, if maybe we interject this now or integrate this now, there will be some hope or opportunity to create something new. Whole time I just went through a divorce. You get what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
so I think too, just like at this point in my life and just where we are in the world as people, Black people, women, Black men, just like paying attention to your own suffering or paying attention to your
Yes.
own trauma and not trying to offer healing and solutions to other people. When you heal, the people around you
Mm.
can heal as well. But if you're focused on everybody else's healing and not your own, you actually aren't even giving from a space of love. You're giving from a space of personal abuse and poverty within yourself, a place of
Yeah.
scarcity and lack, because you really don't have whatever you're giving, you really don't have it to give.
Mm-hmm.
It's like if you have $20 in your bank account and I ask you to borrow 15, you really don't have the 15 to give me, but then you give it to me and then you only have 5, and then in a few days when you need it, it's not there. So
Yep.
when you need yourself, you can't show up for yourself. You can't soothe yourself. You can't nurture and nourish yourself. You can't console yourself and be with yourself, because everything you did have, it's already outside of you, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So that really did teach me a lot, in hindsight. Like when you're in there and the water's murky and you can't really see your way, or like you said, you're standing too close to the sun or too close to the picture.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have the opportunity and you're afforded the blessing to step back, it's just like stay stepped back.
Yeah.
Stay,
Yeah.
you know,
Keep the wide view. Yeah.
keep a wide view. Yeah. Yeah.
Definitely. Oh
Yeah.
man. I'm like, I mean, I feel like I'm over here at a poetry slam. Like, yes, give her
Poetry.
all the snaps, all the
Snap, snap,
snaps. Yes.
snap.
Oh man. Well, thank you so much for sharing that story and being
Yeah.
so vulnerable to open that up. Much love to you and your
Thank
family as you
you.
continue to go through these
Yeah.
transitions with everything, because loss is hard. Loss is
Yeah, a lot
tough.
hard, but it doesn't have to be. And
Yeah.
I think that's the like biggest like messaging that I'm on now. It can be, but it doesn't have to be. It's all about what
Yes.
you create in your mind. It's all about how you project it to be. It's all about how you say it and how you see it. If you say it hard, if you see it hard, it's hard. You know, I
Very
think
true.
that it's important for us to allow ourselves to accept something different, even when challenges arise. I can
Mhm.
look at something challenging and not see it as hard. I can just like see it and become curious and don't create a story
Yeah.
of hard around it. Or I can just explore it. I can say, oh, this feels different. I don't have to say, this is hard. I can just say, oh, this feels different. Okay,
Mhm.
this is a little uncomfortable. I'm not used to how my body is adjusting to this particular situation, but what is here for me to explore? Is there anything here that I can learn? What could make this a more ease-filled approach to what I'm experiencing? What tools do I have to regulate so that this becomes easier to work with? You get what I mean? Like
Oh,
really
definitely.
changing our mindset around a hard life. Like it's not a requirement to good.
Mm-mm.
Get what I
Mm-mm.
mean?
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
so life can be hard. And I think for Black people, we're just told that life is hard. And it's like a matter of fact for us a lot growing up. And
Yeah.
I think, part of that messaging is so that I was talking earlier, so that we be resilient and defy what is hard to make something of ourselves. And I think the people who shared that with us and taught that to us, like they loved us so deeply that
Mhm.
they just wanted us to accept it. If you just accept that life is hard, now we can move forward. But if you're constantly fighting against this idea that life is hard, then maybe you do nothing. Maybe you don't accomplish anything. Maybe you don't become anything because you're in it. So I think that, there was a time where maybe we needed those absolutes. But I think now there's just this mass awakening for our people and this
Yes.
divine remembrance, and we are finally beginning to accept the idea that we deserve rest and ease, and
Oof.
that resilience as a trauma response is no longer necessary, but that we can view resilience, or like one of my teachers says, I think she calls it alchemized resilience, where
Mhm.
the resilience doesn't create more trauma, but instead the resilience doesn't just allow you to bounce back, it allows you to bounce forward. And when you bounce forward, you're able to undo some systemic things in the process to where other people become more free and learn resilience in a new way, and to where it doesn't create new traumas for you.
Right.
You get what I mean?
Oh,
So
definitely.
it's just like, yeah, okay, resilience, but like, what does that mean? How can I explore it in a new way? How can I let go of the idea that life is hard? How can I accept the idea that life can be easy for me? And what would that even mean? Like
Oh, yeah.
if I said for you, like, hey, life doesn't have to be hard, it can be easy for you. And then I said, what does an ease-filled life look like for you? Like, what would you say?
What would I say? Oh my goodness. One where ooh, goodness, that is a great question. What would an ease-filled life look like for me? Without I think honestly capitalism is what's bothered me for a long time, is
Mhm,
just that acceptance that we've all kind of collectively done as a society, that this is
mhm.
how it is and this is how we all are meant to live in this particular country.
Yeah.
And an ease-filled life for me would just be able to not have to worry each day about how productive I was, or did I make enough money in order to pay these bills,
Mhm,
or
mhm,
was I able to do all of the things that you're supposed to do, the work, rest, socializing, all of these things. I'm like, why does that checklist have to exist? Why can't I just let my life be what it is when I want it to be, however I
mhm,
want it to be?
mhm.
So I think that's what an ease-filled life would be for
Yeah,
me,
just
for the
having that
most part.
freedom. Not
Yes,
having to
freedom.
align yourself with lists and tasks and
Yes,
accomplishments, more so just like
exactly.
contentment.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Would love to live more in contentment, but
Yeah. So
mortgages and
then,
things
like,
exist.
yeah, but also, like, there's an invitation for
Oh,
you
yeah.
to do that. The mortgage does exist, and just because you're stressed about it doesn't mean that it's gonna go away.
Oh, no.
So, if I can be enjoy about it, it's still there anyway. However, if I'm enjoy about the mortgage, then I create more opportunities and energy for financial abundance, prosperity, and wealth to move
Oh,
into
yeah.
my life, to where that mortgage is, like, not even an issue for me. It doesn't even matter.
Yep.
You get what I mean?
Because the way I see it, I'm grateful that I do have a mortgage
That
to
you have
pay,
it. Yeah.
because it could very
Mhm.
well be a different situation.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
E
like, despite how worried I may be some days, I'm still like, but I have my place. And
Yeah.
this is the sanctuary that I have built for myself.
Yeah.
So I do find those pockets where I'm like, yeah, that's me.
Appreciation.
Mhm.
Yeah, I
Yes.
did that. Hey, all I'm saying is, like, celebrate that more. Be with
Mhm.
that more than you're with
Oh, yeah.
other stuff, or than I'm with the other stuff. Like, even to myself, like, hey, there are always, I told my partner recently, I told my husband recently, you know what? I need to tell you something. I just leaned in real close. I said, I just want to let you know that I've accepted the idea that I'll never be satisfied with you. And I think you should know that. It just dawned on me, like, that as women, we're just natural visionaries. We like to birth new things, make new things. We like to take raw materials and see it become something else. And
Yes.
I told him, like, the better you become, the better I see you being. So I'm always going to be asking you to do a new thing and create a new habit. And if you did this, and I said, but don't take it personal. That's just the natural order of a woman. If
Yeah.
you see your partner become something that they weren't before, you like, oh, if you can do that, you can do this. You know?
Mhm.
So just like, even being with that, like, I know my mind is always going to be telling me that I can do something better. And here's another idea. And you can make money like this. And this is a great idea. And how can you execute it? And so just accepting that the divine mind loves me so much that it's always creating opportunities for me to have and do and be and enrich my life. But I don't have to take all the opportunities, and I don't have to, I can just say, oh, okay, yeah, that's a great idea. Thank you. And I don't
Yes.
have to get worked up in it all. I can just acknowledge it, kind of like in meditation. It's kind of like, hey, thoughts, I see your thoughts. Thank you, thoughts. Like, and also, like, I'm not about to make a grocery list with you right now. Like,
No.
keep going that way, So kind of like that, like, just if you're gonna get hooked on a thought or connected to something and go into this ruminating, like, let it be good, let it be juicy and delicious and joyful. And if you're gonna get into a thing about the mortgage, for example, like, let it be like, yeah, I got me a place, I got a house, I got a mortgage, I can pay it,
Mhm.
it's mine. Like, and just to make it like, yeah, I'm doing beautiful new things to it every single day. It's serving me so good. I love coming here. It's
Yes.
my sanctuary. It's my place. Just
Celebrating it, regardless
celebrating
of
it.
what else
Like,
it may bring in your life. Celebrate the
yeah,
fact that it's in there.
it's in your life. I'll just tell you, I was homeless. I was sleeping on people's couches for 3 months with one girlfriend, 3 months with another girlfriend, and with a 5-year-old. Like, girl, I would have been happy to have a mortgage at that time. You get what I mean? Like,
Oh, I've been there.
and not that my traumatic experience, it means that you got to rise above what you're feeling, but at the same time, just knowing, like, it's all good.
Mhm.
Really all good.
Trust.
In the end, it's all good,
Ah,
babe. Like,
yeah, like I had said before, bringing all of these practices into my life, I was that person that would be super worried about it, but even
mhm,
if the things are still there, I know how to work through them now.
mhm,
And it's so much, I feel so much more aligned with
mhm,
just letting my life be what it is.
mhm.
um like, I can acknowledge when some fuck shit may happen and be
Girl, 'cause
upset
they be
about it.
happening sometimes.
And I can be upset about it in the moment,
It's
feel the feelings, but then,
unavoidable.
like, all right, how are we moving through
Yeah.
this, and what can
Mhm,
what else can I get out of this?
mhm.
But what joys can I celebrate even if the fuck shit did occur?
Yeah,
Because even like this episode being recorded right here, right now, instead of a month ago, I
yeah.
said absolutely not. I need to take this time to
I
myself,
need a
because
break.
how can I be of service to anybody else when
Mhm.
I'm doing too much? No.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So,
all these
yeah, even
practices,
there, like,
yes.
stop doing too much. Like, not just you, but like all of us. I think, yoga in black, like, all of us are doing too much
Mhm.
our whole life. Like, we've been doing too much. Like, we give doing the most, like, its essence. You get what I mean?
Yes.
Like, just like even that, like, okay, I'm gonna stop doing too much. Like, I'm gonna do a little and I'm gonna do nothing. And rest is productive. You get what I mean?
Oh,
Like,
100,000%.
rest is an activity. That's doing something too. And you can be just
Yes.
as productive resting as you can be getting on your yoga mat, or you can
Oh
be
my
just as
gosh.
productive resting as, like, creating a new program or creating a new sequence. Or sometimes your answers come after rest,
Even during the rest.
during
Because,
the rest.
oh my goodness, I don't know how many times I have been in a moment where I'm like, I'm just not going to do anything at all. But then, of course, your mind is still, going to process and move and
It's
do
doing
things.
its
And then
thing.
all
The
of a
mind
sudden,
is
I'm like,
the mind.
huh, that seems like a good idea. Let me write that down real quick. I'm still
Mhm,
in bed, but write it down real quick.
mhm,
Yes, but because something you said previously about us as Black folks, just in general, um, and with resilience and the constantly doing things, and what came to me was proving ourselves. We're constantly trying to prove ourselves, from the history of why we're here in the
mhm.
first place, and well, at least
Yeah,
in this particular country. And I
yeah,
realized, I'm like, we're not as many generations as we would like to be from that period of time. So
right.
with every generation that passes, we're still carrying on this gotta do better, gotta do better, gotta do better to prove ourselves. But what's that saying? I am my ancestors' wildest dream.
Mhm.
Son, honestly, your ancestors' wildest dream was probably to fucking relax
Yeah,
sometimes, to take care of myself sometimes, to be
yeah.
able to do that and enjoy
Mhm.
what's going on, despite the fact that there is a lot of stuff that goes on the outside. But
Mhm.
no, my house is taken care of. And by house, I mean my
Mhm.
body.
Yeah, myself.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that just, as soon as you said that, I'm like, oh yes, we all collectively, and I will say that at, to speak for all of us, because
Yeah,
there's
yeah,
so
yeah.
many of us do that, and it's not not a fault of anybody's. It's just
Yeah, it's
sometimes
the
what we were,
genetics.
yes, it's generational,
It's
it's in our
cellular.
DNA
It's,
now.
yeah,
Yes.
the epigenetics, and it's just, and even
Yes.
that, like, girl, that's a conversation we're gonna talk about another time, but just really also, like, giving our people, like, the tools and information to overcome
Mm,
the cellular things, like, through fasting and understanding the science of fasting and how we
yes.
can create new cellular data and DNA and genetics, like, that's what's also meant by breaking these generational curses,
Hmm.
not just through prayer, but also in fasting and giving your
Yes.
body time to make new things from the inside. So the generations coming after you have this new pattern and data and ways that they're coming into this world, you know?
Hmm.
So even just like loving the mat, loving the asana, taking in the breath, utilizing the meditation, understanding the yamas and niyamas or the restraints, um, and all the like understanding yoga as a whole,
Yes.
you know, and how to get to that divine mind space and how to incorporate all the pieces of yoga and the body and the science and the fasting to create a more full picture and just a happier body and experience
Yes.
on the mat and off the mat. You know, yoga
Mhm.
on the mat and yoga off the mat, like allowing your yoga, whatever it might be, to be, a lifestyle, not just when you approach your mat, but like how you approach life, you know?
Yes. Oof. I'm so glad you said all of that. Oh my goodness. Because that's exactly what I wanted this whole thing to be about. Um, to get so many more Black people involved in yoga by hearing the stories of those of us that
Mhm,
have been practicing it for a while, teaching it for a while, sharing it for a while, so you can understand the experiences we've had are similar to the ones that you likely are experiencing too. And this is
mhm,
the thing that we found to help. There's
mhm.
nothing wrong with it. Come see it for yourself.
Yeah, come see it for yourself,
Yes.
because you gotta see it for yourself. You literally gotta see it for yourself, like,
Yes. Come feel
and
it for
then
yourself, all that
yeah.
stuff. Cause it is sometimes I have to catch myself. I'm like, do I sound like one of those people that's just trying to constantly recruit people or something? I'm like, but it's coming
But
from a
yeah,
place
but,
of
like yeah, but you
let's
want
help
to.
each other
It's
out
from a
because
place of
it's
love.
not harmful. Like I
Yeah,
promise you, if anything else, like what are those cults and stuff? Those are
yeah,
harmful. Those are very
yeah.
harmful. I have never felt harm from a well-rounded yoga practice.
Yeah, it's just like I say in my community, we're not a cult, we're a community. Like,
Thank you. We are
everybody's
all
still
out
their
here
own
looking for each other,
person.
looking
You
out for each
still have
other.
your autonomy through your transformation. This is just like
Yes.
a place of support, accountability, and love and nourishment. But
Hmm.
also, like, yeah, I am recruiting. Like,
Yes. Come
come
get
over
this
here.
healing,
Yeah, like,
please.
come to this. Yeah,
I
like,
just want better for all of us,
for all of
please.
us as a collective, because, like, as each
Yes.
one of us heals, it's like each one reach one, teach one. Like,
Yes.
yeah, you are recruiting. I am recruiting. Like, the football team's recruiting, the baseball team's
Exactly.
recruiting,
Why
you
can't
know?
we?
Why can't we? Why can't we? Come be on my team. Come play on my team, you know? My team is
Exactly.
about orgasmic living. Your team is about, awareness and invitation and comfortability. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, pick the team you like, but pick a team. I always tell my clients, like, put both of your feet on one side of the line. Either you're going to be all the way in with this, or you're going to be all the
All
way
the way out.
in with this. You either going to be all the
Yes.
way in with unhappiness, or you're going to be all the way in with joy.
I
And be
like
open
that.
to how it unfolds.
Yes.
That
is a key, is being open-minded to
Yeah.
whatever can happen,
Yeah.
because everybody's path through it is different,
Yeah.
but
And
it's
it's
so
safe for
worth
us
it.
to live a happy life.
Yes. That's
Like,
all I ever want,
safe
is
for
just
us
to
to
find
do
that
that.
place exactly of the
Yeah.
contentment. Yes.
Yeah.
Whew, girl.
This
We
is
need, yeah, I was
good.
like, we need more than the hour and a half that I allotted for this. Because I wanted to give folks, or at least give you the opportunity to give folks an idea of what it's like to experience sessions with you. So what is
Yeah.
it that, what do your offerings look like and feel like from like beginning to end?
Okay. So, like I said, I'm like a very hands-on person, but my main focus in all of my offerings, no matter which one you pick, is for the person to leave feeling empty and full.
Mm.
You know what I'm
I
saying?
like that. Yeah, I
Yeah.
know what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. So I want you to be empty and full. So I offer like private breathwork sessions. I also have an offering every Sunday here in Houston in my healing sanctuary with my partner, where we do breathwork and brunch. So we usually have breathwork at the beginning. Then we have a what we call communion. My husband is a chef, so he makes this amazing like garlic butter bread. We have wine where we lift all of ourselves up and take all of ourselves in. And then he usually makes a brunch. We have an integration conversation at the end. And then, like on the second and fourth Sunday, we do like a somatic experiencing exercise together. So recently it was hugging. So as a community, we're working on 6-second hugs, or we're playing with the idea of hugging for 6 seconds or more.
I love this.
Tomorrow we're going to be having like a breath work, kind of like telephone conversation where you take an inhale, whatever word comes up, you say it. The next person takes an inhale, takes your word, and like we're gonna create like a breathwork story. Tomorrow, my husband's making gumbo. Like it's just like it's a vibe. It's really a place where you can come and be. You know, we
Yes.
don't like to say we're like healers, but we do curate spaces for healing to be. We want to empower everybody to be their own guru and take their healing into their own hands. So
Mm.
we do that through our breathwork offerings. We have nurture and nourish sessions, which are like one person centered focus, like a 4 to 6 hour date with yourself, where you choose 2 to 3 modalities that you want to explore with me. My
Mhm.
husband creates a chakra based meal for you to integrate with at the end based on like what we're working on, the foods and everything that we choose for your meal or focus on the chakra centers that we're working on. And then also I curate personal like play dates and offerings for adults. So like birthday parties that you want to infuse with intention, not just partying for the sake of partying, but partying
Yes.
and having purpose behind it. And I feel like, that shows the people in your life that you really care about them, and that they matter to you. And it's not stuffy. Like we still be having a good time. We still be having our cocktails. Sometimes we have our sacred herbs. It's just like we have a great time, but everything has a purpose and an intent, you know?
Mhm.
And yeah, that's just how I like to express myself, my essence, sound therapy, tuning fork sessions, body work. I offer sacred touch, which is just intimate, non-sexual healing touch. So it might be like a head massage, hand massage, gentle touch, where people get to integrate and ease back into um safe touch and
Yes.
experiencing.
Oh,
Yeah, that's just me. That's me.
that as soon as whilst you were describing the brunch thing, I'm over here, I'm like, I didn't realize how hungry I was until she mentioned brunch. Like, this sounds absolutely wonderful.
Yeah,
Oh
we
my
have a
god, breath
great
and brunch.
time.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, it's the breath and brunch, honey.
Oh,
We have
I
a great,
love
great
this.
time. And then on first Sundays, this summer we go in the summertime we go to the beach for first
Mm.
Sundays as a community. But now that the weather's changing, now we have high talk. So we have conversations that elevates a topic. We all discuss it as a community. Last week, which was first Sunday, our topic was you won the lottery, now what? Because a lot
Ooh.
of times we think that money or lack of money is the source of all of our chaos and problems and trauma and overthinking. And so, yeah, we were able to just like navigate the idea of like, you have the money, now what?
Mm-hmm.
And that
Ooh,
was such a beautiful, opening, enlightening,
I love
fulfilling,
this.
healing
Oh yeah.
conversation.
Financial trauma exists too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm so glad that you brought that up to your community because so many of us need to have that conversation.
Mhm,
Um, which is part of, how I'm living my life now. Like,
mhm.
yeah, money sucks, whatever, but however much I have or don't have doesn't really change much for
And
me.
that's what we all realized, like,
Mhm.
I have the money, now what? Whatever needs to be done still needs to be done with
Exactly.
yourself. And like my husband, he had such a great reflection. He said all money does is speeds up the process to which you have to face your real self.
Ooh, ooh.
Because
Nice.
money removes all the barriers. And then you
Yes.
win the lottery and you wake up and you have the money, but you're still you. But
Yep.
now you don't have any distractions. You don't have work that needs to be done and all this other stuff, this striving and all the things we do to keep ourselves from focus. No, now you're more you than you'll ever be.
Because you got
And like,
time on your
what does
hands
that
now.
mean? You got time. It eliminates time to the where you might be, like this with self and higher self, and then you win the lottery. Now suddenly you're
Mhm.
here. Time is no longer a factor. It doesn't mean anything. You realize, oh, like, yeah, it really is like a social construct or something that I've made up in my mind to keep me. This is the only way that I can make sense of myself.
Mhm.
Now that that time has been shortened, now what?
Whew. Yes.
You
Uh,
know,
broadcast this conversation somewhere
that's
because
what yeah. My husband always tell me like you need to record, and I try my best to respect privacy and confidentiality in these spaces, but
true.
because you never know what's gonna come up.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I get what he's saying, but I'm kind of
Mhm.
like you too when it comes to capitalism. Like that's why I'm not on Instagram a lot, but I keep telling myself I'm gonna be better. I'm just gonna do it from a place that feels good and right for me, and
Yep.
try to understand how do you practice ethical capitalism to where you're not being, excuse me, the sense of greed is not there, but
Yeah.
also you're giving yourself permission to be compensated for your offering to the world and where the
Yes.
balance is.
And it's the scale is really hard to balance with that
Yeah.
because that's been a fight that I have been fighting since deciding that I wanted to teach yoga.
Mhm.
Because I'm like, I do it for free because that stuff is not important to me, but I know where I live. So it's like I can't
Yeah.
necessarily do that. So how can I make
And
this
also, like,
ethical? But
don't
yeah.
also, like, it's okay to not do it for free.
Mhm. Yeah. And that's
Yeah,
where I was
because
like,
you
it's definitely not something I want to do for free for sure. Like knowing what world we live in. I was like,
mhm,
if I had the capability to do so, oh, I definitely would. I
yeah.
definitely would. But I know that's not the reality that I live in. So what
And
makes
it's just
sense?
not the
Yeah.
cycle of life either. Like, there's a law of reciprocity, there's a law
Yes.
of sharing and receiving, and whether you choose to participate in it or not, other people are. The
Oh yeah.
energy that you put out deserves to receive something back. You get what I'm saying? If you're
Yes.
doing it for free and doing it for free and doing it for free, how are you being feel?
Which is why I am okay with a barter or trade system.
Mhm.
So, like, if you have or do something that would
That you
benefit
need.
me, then
Mhm.
we
Yeah.
can do something that mutually helps the both of us.
Yes.
I'll provide you with my services, you help me with yours,
Mhm.
and now we're good. Like
And if
no
that
love
feels
lost.
good for you, yeah, it
Yes.
doesn't make you feel like because eventually, even if you have the right heart and the right mindset around doing things for free, somebody's gonna either start paying you for it without your
Mhm.
prompting, or you're gonna start to resent it
Yeah.
because the energy just doesn't work like that. The energy
Oh,
wants
no.
to be
It's just constant
it
giving.
wants to
Yeah, there's
receive
nothing
and
being
continue
received.
to
Yeah.
yeah. So you either move into resentment or you move into um compensation.
Mhm.
That's just the way the law is. Like, but
Very true.
finding a way that works for you and where you feel joyful and where you can continue to share your gifts from a place of love and be in
Mhm.
that frequency. If that's bartering for you, then like, yeah, do that. And you may still have your things where you're like, yeah, my spirit is saying like this is something that I can put a deposit on for something later. I can do this for what might not be a upfront compensation, but I will be
Mhm.
compensated soon or in the future.
Yes.
And just keeping your heart open, not so focused on I would do it for free because nothing is free.
Mm-mm.
It costs
At
you
all.
something to do it, so it's not free.
Oh
Whether
no,
you get
it's always
something
an energy
yeah,
cost.
there is a
Yep.
cost. Yeah. You gotta get up, you gotta get in your car, you gotta drive over there, you gotta
Yes.
sit back, you gotta hold space, you gotta do the, aftercare, and it's not free, babe. It
At all.
the moment you decide, yes, the clock for a cost, 'cause now it's
That
on your
time clock was
mind,
already running.
it's on your mind, it's in your body, like
Yep.
yeah. That's
Yeah.
always yeah.
Shoot, everything that was just said is such good stuff for those that are just starting out or branching out into this type of
Mhm,
practice as a profession. Like, find what works for you. Make
mhm,
sure that you get what you need to get out of it, whether it's
mhm.
the money, the energy, whatever it
The
is.
education, insight,
Exactly.
yeah, but get something.
Yes.
Get
Find
something.
what
And I
works for
think
you.
too, just like removing the stigma that like spiritual people have to be broke and spiritual people can't earn and spiritual people should do it for the least amount of money possible and like
Yeah.
that spiritual thing should be free. Like, nah.
No. And I need a lot of these corporations to get that point too, because they the main ones perpetuating that.
I had a situation earlier that I'll tell you about offline because I haven't given the offering yet. But I wrote a whole thing about it. Not even wrote. It was really just like a channel message. Like a corporation tried to play me today.
Mm.
Tell me I couldn't
It's so
show up
sad
in
how often
a
it
display.
happens.
Like y'all got all the money and y'all trying to.
And it better not be because of this. Because I swear, if that is, then I'm ready to fight. But
Girl, girl, girl. We're gonna
we
talk
can
offline,
we can
girl.
talk about it.
Girl, they tried to play. They tried to play in my face,
Mm-mm.
and it's an
Unacceptable.
offering that's for us, and that's what really like hurt my soul that
Yeah.
it's a wellness offering for people of color and y'all acting like y'all don't have the money to invest in your people, but yet well-being is a part of your company's makeup. It doesn't make sense. Like, you want well-being on the internet, but not well-being in real life. Like,
Cosplaying,
it's a part of your core values on your website.
There's a lot of wellness cosplaying going on. I
Oh,
think that's
that's
the
a good
safest way to call it,
one.
wellness cosplaying.
Oh,
I
that's a
think,
good one.
yeah, I think folks also use the term, what is it, spiritual bypassing?
Mm-hmm.
I think they go hand in hand. But yeah, just for the sake of looking like this is something that you're about or
That
something
this
that you
company is
do.
about, but when it really comes
Yeah,
down to it, like, I
ain't
want
about
you
that
to do
life.
your work for free. And if not,
I'm
like, the
sorry.
employees pay for it themselves. It's just like,
That, yeah, because I had a similar situation too where they expected me to do something for free. Now, granted, I was working for the company at the time.
I
So
don't care.
in the moment, I was like, I practice on my own during my lunch. If you want to join me, you absolutely can. If
Okay,
you can
yeah.
donate, then please donate.
Yeah.
But I'm not necessarily going to say it costs this much to come to this. If you want to
Yeah.
come and can make a donation, please do
Totally
so.
understand that.
Right.
Yeah.
But I left the company and they're like, well, are you still going to do the yoga thing? I'm like, I don't work here no more. So if you want me to, you can contract me. And these are my rates. Crickets.
Nothing.
Crickets.
No,
So
but
I'm like, you
listen,
didn't want it then.
and not
So
only that, and that's what I mean by being like an ethical yogi.
yes.
Not just getting your yoga from an instructor when it's free.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because the ethics don't just come from us as the folks sharing it. It
Yes.
comes from y'all that are participating too.
The participants as
Yes.
well.
Because
Yeah.
that will mess
It's
up the
not
energy
all on
flow
us.
too.
That's the
Right.
human thing.
Yes.
Like,
You can't
yeah,
always expect to get something for free.
yeah.
Like,
And it's up to you. Don't expect it.
right.
This is
If you
so
can,
random. Did you cut your hair?
I did.
Okay,
Yeah.
I love it. I just realized when you said, at first I thought maybe it was like back in a low bun, and you shared
Nope,
to the
it's
side, and I
all
was like,
gone.
oh, it's good. I like that. Okay, I just wanted to take a pause for the cause.
Yeah. I was wondering if I should even mention it because I realized I'm like, last time this show was going, I had hair.
You need to know what's going on.
Yeah, I cut it in July.
Oh, like, okay, yes, yes, I like that.
Thank
Pretty.
you. It's
That looks good
refreshing.
on you. That looks good on you.
Ooh, saved my life during them 100-degree days.
Girl,
Oh, was not
look at
pleasant. Well, shoot.
it looks
We
good.
we have been having so much fun. I don't want this to end, but I gotta honor
Mm,
your time and the folks
please honor
listening
me.
time, and we'll meet again.
Yeah.
Don't act there. This is not
Please
the
honor
end
my
at
time because
all.
I'm doing this podcast for free.
So I just wanted us to wrap up real quick and
Yes,
ask
okay.
you the things that I ask everyone. So
Okay.
I would just like for you to provide advice to those that are starting their journey into their practices to heal and those that are looking to share these practices with others.
Okay, so my advice for those who are just starting their journey to healing is to just be open. Be open and don't have any expectations. And I would say curiosity is like one of the biggest tools to have in the toolbox. To just be curious and to question more than you want answers.
Ooh.
Ask more questions than trying to get more answers.
I
That's
love
what I would
that.
say. And just breathe through the process. Like, remember to breathe and regulate. Take care of yourself and know that it doesn't have to be hard. It can be, in some parts will be, but you can also like have joy in that. And
Yes.
the joy comes from the gift of whatever the hard thing is bringing to you, whether that's awareness, awakening, loss, transition, transformation. Find joy in the result versus focusing on the challenge.
Mm.
And then, what was the other question? What advice do I have for people who are wanting to share healing with others?
Yes.
Focus on your own healing first.
Mm.
Focus on your own healing first and be an ethical practitioner. Don't share things and teach things that you haven't experienced. Don't
Mm.
share things and teach things that you haven't been through or tried. And try to share your healing as much as possible from a trauma-informed
Mm.
lens, to where you're aware
Yes.
of your own traumas so that you don't project them onto other people, but also where you're able to share without dumping, but sharing for growth for the other person.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, all the wisdom, all the gems. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for that.
Thank you for having me. This is
Oh,
so delightful and so juicy and so
yes.
fun.
Look,
Yeah.
I love when it's recording time. Like, this is
Yeah.
my favorite time to just get to connect with y'all and listen to
Mhm.
all the awesome things that y'all have to share. Like,
Yeah.
every one of you has been truly, truly magnificent. I can't thank you enough.
Yeah.
I can't wait
I
to
just
get to
want
a
to
point where I can compensate y'all for these things. But I
no.
appreciate the love
I
that you
was
pour
being
into it, because
funny.
it's helping me
Yeah.
be able to pour into it as well. Oh, I
Yeah.
can't
And I
thank you
just want to
enough.
reflect that back to you. Like, thank you for creating this container for us to share. When I started my yoga journey, I didn't really know any Black people that did yoga. And if I did, I definitely didn't really. I knew one yoga teacher
Mm-hmm.
that was Black, and she is very thin. I'm not. And so I like that we get to see that yoga has a lot of different faces and a lot of
Yes.
different bodies and a lot of different looks, and that yoga is like Black too.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you for allowing this, and for opening up your heart and your spirit, and for listening, and for taking your break, and like also coming back now just like revitalized and refreshed for us to get more from each other and to build each other up. So thank you. You're definitely needed, like, in
Thank
our
you. Thank you
community.
so
And I'm
much.
really grateful
Don't
for you.
don't make me cry.
Girl, come on, cry. You cried. Y'all don't really do it.
Please don't make me cry. I ain't
If you
crying on
cried, that would
camera.
really be icing on the cake for us.
Look, my pro fight got me to cry last season. I'm like,
Oh,
y'all don't. And it's all. Why is it always the first episode? Y'all just.
listen. We want to get that thing up on you so the season can just flow.
Waterworks, just let the flood out. All right.
Thank you
Thank you
so
so much.
much.
I
You're so beautiful
appreciate
and
you.
necessary.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much. Well,
Yeah.
thank you to y'all too for listening, because again, this wouldn't be able to be a thing without y'all pouring into it as
Mhm.
well. So, listeners, you are appreciated just as much as every other piece that comes into this thing. I am excited for this season for you. So, stay tuned every Tuesday for a new episode. I will see y'all next week. Have a great, great rest of your week. Peace
Yes.
out.
Peace.
Thanks for tuning in to the Yoga in Black podcast. What did you think of this episode? Leave us a comment or a rating on whichever platform you're listening or watching from today, right after you subscribe. Be sure to follow us on all our social media platforms. You can find us on Instagram at yoga.inblack, Facebook yoga.inblack, and TikTok yoga.in.black. Also, head to www.yogainblack.net for all your YIB needs. Next episode, I'll connect with Maya Harrell. New episodes air every Tuesday. And if you'd like to be on the show, fill out our waitlist form on the website. Be sure to click on Let's Talk from the menu. I can't thank you enough for all of your support. Really, this could not be done without you. Thanks for listening.